wind and wood are a dangerous combination for casting crankbaits, but there are some pretty good lure options out there to help minimize snags.
You know, there's not many baits that you could cast into heavy cover. What's unique about this Sebile snagless flat shad, it only has one hook. It's got a 2-hook treble instead of a 3, and you notice it doesn't have a hook on the back. It's got a little feather there, and it allows you to work it through this heavy wood cover that we're fishing. There's quite a few trees, and they come out about 10 to 15 feet. So you'll work this bait through the trees, get to the base of the trees, sink it down to the edge, and then work it back towards the boat. And in a lot of cases, you can cast parallel to the deep trees. Being it's a sinking bait, you can work it right along the edge of those trees, and that's where these walleyes are hanging out.
Although overall, the Sebile flat shads are doing a nice job of not getting hung up in the dense cover, it doesn't mean the walleyes won't continue to do their very best to break your line off by making desperate runs for the trees after being hooked.
Like my puller
Wrapped in a tree?
went in the tree. See him?
There it is, yeah, there it is.
There he is. The beauty of fireline there.
That's cool.
So, in addition to lures and experience, using the right rod and line combination for this situation.
I threw it down and let it go down to the 12 feet of water and drug it right down.
Okay, you counted the bait down a little ways?
Yes, sir.
Can greatly increase your odds when fighting both a fish and the structure it's hiding in.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right on that point.
Right there, came out of that tree, and as soon as I quit reeling, it hit it.
You just paused it.
I just paused the bait and it popped it.
There it comes, there it comes. There we got him.
You got him, Joey?
There's
Good
a nice
job. And he
one.
popped off in the net.
He swam right into the net for you.
Perfect. Another one came right out of the trees.
Yeah, he wanted to get on TV, didn't he?
Look at that.
Sweet darling.
That's a nice
That's a good one,
man.
Another beautiful fish.
Oh, they have beautiful color here, don't they?
Look how golden they are. Even their pectoral fins, all their fins are nice and gold.
They have really good color here.
They do. Beautiful.
Yep. You know, it's absolutely no secret that walleyes and any species of fish like cover. Whether it's weeds, whether it's flooded timber like we have here today, even brush near the bottom. Walleyes like to sit in those covers and wait for the bait fish to come to them. It's an ambush point for them. But the age-old question has always been, how do I fish for those walleyes that are sitting in that cover? It's always really snaggy. You're not sure if you should be pitching jigs or exactly what you should be doing to get to those fish. And this technique that we're doing here today is actually the first time that I've done it, and it's been very eye-opening for me. On the business end of things, we're using this Sebile snagless flat shad, and it's a bait that's phenomenal. It sinks into these covers, and it doesn't get snagged up much, so you can actually slow roll it through the trees and get those fish to come out of the trees and attack the bait. It just as important is the setup, the equipment that you're gonna use other than the bait as well too. And everything I'm using in this technique is gonna be a little bit heavier than what I'm typically using, okay? I'm using 14-pound fire line actually. You know, granted, this bait goes through trees well, but you're gonna get a few snags. And if you go up to a 14-pound test fire line, you can feel everything instantly because it's no stretch, but you can also straighten out hooks of the bait and save a lot of the baits that you're casting into these covers. On top of that, what you're gonna wanna look for is a nice beefy rod. This is a 7-foot Walleye Angler Signature Series rod from Bass Pro, actually made specifically for casting cranks. And what we have here is a rod that has a very good backbone, okay? You can see if I bend the rod here, a lot of the rod is backbone. So when you get that bite when you're casting this crank, you can get a good hook set into the fish. But we have a fast tip on this rod, a softer tip than typically what I might use in other crankbait casting situations. And that's so when you get that fish, that it comes out of the cover and it attacks that bait, you have a little bit of give when you're fighting that fish to the boat. So the same type of setup I'm using, but everything a little bit heavier, a little bit stronger, and it's allowing us to get those fish out of the cover and into the boat.
Using a no-stretch line is a major factor in increasing feel.
Feels are right, but it hits so far out there, they're kind of hard to tell until they get right by the boat, you know?
Not just for the vibration of the lure to know that it's running correctly underwater, but also for helping to detect bites that can happen at the furthest point in your retrieve.
He's a good one.
Good one,
Yeah.
good one. Good job. All right, that's a fatty.
Oh yeah, healthy.
What's cool about that bait is you typically catch the fish on the outside of the mouth.
Yeah, you do.
You know, that 2-hook treble doesn't get buried so deep.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you just look at the hook, you'd think that you'd miss a lot of bites.
You'd think you would,
but you really don't. I mean, when they hit it, you usually got them. Oh,
there you go.
There we go.
Perfect. Coming right out.
Oh, look at that.
It's a dandy.
Anytime you can cast cranks, I mean, I love it, but this is just a whole different animal. I mean, we're casting cranks into heavy, heavy timber.
Wood, weeds,
something
rock.
that I gotta be honest, I've never done before, because I've always been afraid to. You always lose 100 baits if you want to try to do it.
Yeah.
But the bait gets through.
It's that bait that makes
you catch fish like this just all day long. It's unbelievable. A lot of fun. Oh.
Leading information on tackle and techniques to make you a better fisherman. Presented by Mercury.
A trend lately in walleye fishing is for a lot of anglers to go to an electric steer trolling motor. Now, what do I mean by electric steer? That simply means that there's a little motor up in here that will actually steer the motor back and forth instead of the old cables that used to run these trolling motors. Now, there's some obvious advantages of running an electric steer trolling motor. The first one is you can move all around the boat and actually control this. Whether you move your foot pedal back or you use something like a key fob, you can actually control the boat up from the bow, in the back there if you're trolling, pretty much anywhere you want. Now, when you start looking at electric trolling motors, especially electric steer trolling motors, some things that I look for that are real important for walleye fishing are, first of all, that head's got to still move fast. You don't want it just slowly moving around. You can see on this head, when I go left or right, this thing spins right around just about as fast as a cable drive. So that lets you control the boat real precisely, stay on the little brake that you might want to be on, or if you're like out vertical jigging, keep your lines nice and vertical. So a fast moving head is very, very important. The second thing that I want is a real quiet electric trolling motor. Not only when I push the button here and run the prop, you know, it should be nice and quiet, but that the steering motor has to be quiet, as well as the bracketing shouldn't be creaking around. Because the reason you're using an electric trolling motor is to be stealthy, to be quiet, to sneak up on these walleyes. So everything's got to be good and quiet. The last thing that I really need out of a trolling motor, especially for me, is durability. You know, I'm out in rough water an awful lot. I've got to have good solid bracketing. We've actually run this motor quite a bit in really big waves, and the bracketing has held up great. So electric steer trolling motors, great for walleye fishing. Just make sure that they're strong enough, they're quiet enough, they let you be remote, and it'll make you a better fisherman.